Hey, welcome. Today we're diving into something really interesting, data privacy in Bangladesh. And we're going to see how, for the smartest businesses out there, this isn't just about dodging bullets, it's about grabbing a huge competitive edge. All right, let's get into it.
So, I want to start with just one number. 3 million. It's big, right? It feels heavy, and it represents a massive, massive breach of trust. But what does it actually mean? That's what it means. 3 million people in Bangladesh who had their personal information exposed in a single data breach. This isn't just some abstract statistic on a spreadsheet. It's a huge wake-up call about just how vulnerable our digital lives have become. Which, of course, brings us to the central question.
Right? When the technology is moving at light speed, but the rules and regulations just haven't caught up yet, how on earth do businesses build the one thing that truly matters? And that's customer trust. So let's explore what that landscape looks like. This right here, this is the reality on the ground. We're witnessing this absolutely incredible explosion in mobile connectivity, but it's all happening in an environment where the guardrails, the protections for our data, are pretty much still under construction.
And to really get a sense of the scale here, just look at this number, 185 million mobile connections. Think about that. That's more connections than there are people in the entire country. It's a truly staggering level of connectivity.
And we're not just talking about basic flip phones here. Nope. Almost 73% of households in Bangladesh are now using smartphones. And that means every single tap, every swipe, every search, it's all creating this enormous trail of data.
Now, what's really fascinating about this slide is the story it tells. On one side, you have this booming, nearly $7 billion digital economy just rocketing forward. And on the other side, well, the data protection framework that's supposed to govern it all is still just a draft. That gap, that is the digital Wild West, and it leaves both consumers and businesses in a really tricky spot.
So what happens when you're operating in that gap? You run the risk of breaking customer trust. And let's be super clear about this. That trust has a very real, very direct impact on your revenue.
And this chart? Wow, it just lays out the stakes so clearly. This isn't some niche concern for a handful of people. 3 out of every 4 consumers globally will straight up walk away from a purchase if they don't trust how you're handling their data. In a market that's growing as fast as Bangladesh, that is a huge chunk of your potential customers.
And this quote, this really highlights a fundamental shift in how we need to think. Privacy is no longer just some boring legal thing you check off a list and bury in the fine print. No way. It's become a core feature that your customers are actively looking for when they decide where to spend their money. So this is the question every single brand needs to ask itself. There is such a fine line between using data to create a better, more personalized experience and crossing over into behavior that just feels intrusive or, creepy. And believe me, your customers can absolutely tell the difference.
And hey, if you need a rock-solid business case for investing in trust, well, here it is, plain and simple. Customers are willing to spend over 50% more with brands they actually believe in. Trust isn't some fuzzy, feel-good metric. It has a clear, measurable, and incredibly powerful return on investment.
Okay, so let's see how this whole thing builds, how we can reframe privacy from a problem you have to avoid into a strategy you can't wait to embrace. We're going to look at it not as a defensive move, but as a proactive way to build a stronger, more loyal, and more profitable business.
This is the big idea we're talking about, a privacy-first approach. And what it means is you stop treating privacy as an afterthought or, some problem you just kick over to the IT department. Instead, you build it into the very DNA of your product and your company, right from day one.
And you don't have to take my word for it, the data backs this up in a huge way. A Forrester study found that when customers believe a company is being transparent, they're twice as likely to buy more from you. And get this, they are 4 times more likely to forgive you when you mess up. That kind of loyalty is absolutely priceless.
I mean, just look at what Apple did. They made privacy a core part of their brand. When they launched App Tracking Transparency, oh man, the ad industry predicted complete chaos, an absolute disaster. But the reality? A pretty minor dip in some metrics and a massive boost in user trust. They prove that you can put your users in control and still have a totally thriving business.
Okay, so we've totally covered the why. Now let's get into the how. This next part is all about the practical, actionable stuff you can actually do to build that trust advantage for yourself.
All right, these are the fundamentals. It all starts with a simple data audit. You absolutely have to know what data you have and why you have it. If you can't justify it, get rid of it. Then, design clear consent. Ask for permission in simple terms, not by burying it in pages of legal jargon. Next up, you've got to build privacy right into your product from the beginning, so it's a core feature, not something you tack on later. And finally, be transparent in how you talk to people. Explain what you're doing in plain language they can actually understand.
And look, it doesn't just stop there, because a promise without protection is, well, it's pretty meaningful. You need strong security to back up your words, which means investing in real protocols to keep that data safe. You also have to give users super easy ways to see or even delete their own data, put them in the driver's seat. And crucially, this isn't a one-and-done project. You have to treat privacy as an ongoing commitment, something you're always monitoring and always trying to improve.
So let's bring this all home. The key takeaway, the big idea, is that this isn't some far-off trend to worry about later. The opportunity to lead on privacy and build that incredible trust advantage in Bangladesh, it's happening right now.
This timeline really lays it all out. Right now, today, we're in this regulatory gap, this digital Wild West, where proactive brands can really stand out and become known as the leaders people trust. But that window, it's closing. In the next year or two, new laws are going to arrive, and this stuff will become mandatory for everyone. The advantage goes to the people who act first.
And this really brings us to the final calculation. You can make a proactive investment right now to build that trust. Or you can risk doing nothing, which could mean millions in breach costs, losing 3/4 of your customers, and doing permanent damage to your brand's reputation. When you see it like that, the choice is pretty clear, isn't it?
And that leaves us with this one last thought. New rules for data privacy, they are inevitable. They are coming. The only real question is, what are you going to be doing when they get here? Will you be a market leader who already has the deep trust of your customers? Or will you just be scrambling to catch up? The time to decide is now.